joined by always as my co-host Dale. How we doing, buddy?
Hey, man, I'm doing great, my friend. I'm doing great. It's actually really interesting today because you and I were actually talking about, like, you know what? We need to get some current people on here. It's the time where, you know, February is kind of a lackluster month as far as the past pay-per-views go. And, you know, with everything that we've done in the past, we're just like, man, you know, we want this. We're not getting it right now for us. You know, whatever the main corporations are wrestling wise, we're not really getting it. But we need to talk with people that are here. We need to talk with people that are in the business right now and that we have high hopes for. And that's why we reached out to Blake Bulletproof Troop. Am I right, sir? Please introduce yourself. Please tell us who you are, and please tell us what you are about.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Blake Bulletproof Troop, known for dropping warheads on people's foreheads. I'm a professional mixed martial arts fighter, world-class submission wrestler, and professional wrestler as well. I also work as a combat sports analyst on the Fubo Sports Network, all-around combat sports entertainer, and I've recently made my debut in professional wrestling. Currently 4-0. Undefeated and coming out the gate, kicking ass, taking names, baby. So here I am.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we said, Dale, didn't we? You know, Bulletproof, when we seen your stuff, and we were like, this is a guy that we could get into because he's got a very, very real style in the ring. And, you know, there's a lot of this Circus du Soleil shit that goes around at the moment in wrestling. And, you know, we looked at your style and we were like, this is a style that needs to be more of. You know, what got you into that style? Was it just because your MMA background, or?
So, absolutely. Well, for me to kind of tell you what got me into that style, I kind of got to start from the beginning, which was originally I grew up, my first love was professional wrestling. And this is like early Attitude Era. And when I found out professional wrestling was a work, it broke my heart. Little like 10-year-old Troop's heart was broken. This is like late 90s or so. Right around the same time that the UFC started coming up and becoming really popular. And it was still really like kind of taboo, like pay-per-view, like not acceptable like it is today. And it stole my heart. And so like late 90s until like mid 20-teens, mixed martial arts was my entire focus. I loved it. It's something that I trained a whole lot of. And then eventually fought professionally, as I mentioned earlier. And then professional wrestling came back into my life. I essentially created a professional wrestling personality in Bulletproof Troop that I brought to combat sports in order to, the objective was to increase the entertainment value of my brand. I watched guys like Conor McGregor come out and talk their way to championships. Not that Conor can't fight. Conor McGregor can absolutely fight. He's a world-class fighter. But he got catapulted through the rankings faster than the majority of other people would because that motherfucker can talk into a microphone. You know,
there's another one. There's one from my home city, actually, Paddy the Baddy Pimler. I don't know whether you've seen him recently.
100%. Exactly the same thing, where it's a guy who's marketable and comes out and talks shit and so forth. Paddy's been around too. Like, if you've been watching fighting, you've known of this dude for years now. Like, that dude's
he's actually from my city. He's not far away from me at all.
He's a stud, bro. And if you look at him, you don't think that dude is as bad as he is. That kid's a little killer. But so anyway, so I started building this professional wrestling personality in combat sports, which got the attention of professional wrestling again. At the time, I was a professional mixed martial arts fighter. And coming over into professional wrestling again after not really watching it for 15, almost 20 years, because fighting just stole my heart. I came back and I started to see all these different flavors of professional wrestling. Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, which is actually what this poster is right here behind me. Yeah. Which I actually commentated that event, John Moxley versus Josh Barnett. I was on commentary for that entire show.
Very cool.
But so my professional wrestling personality in combat sports got the attention of WWE. And they had a little bit of interest in me in mid-2018. I was in talks about trying to get a tryout, injured myself, and then that was kind of the end of that. But so as a professional mixed martial arts fighter, and like I mentioned, a world-class submission wrestler, I competed with Snake Pit Catch Wrestling's vacant heavyweight world title this past February. So about a year ago, almost exactly, I went all the way to the finals. I was pinned in the finals by Travis Week, the current world champion. So I have a very long history in legitimate submission grappling and mixed martial arts training. Over 20 years. I started in the early, 2001. I think I started training. Wow, man, 21 years. But
it goes by.
Because of all that, I've really tried to bring that flavor of where I'm not just another cookie cutter guy who knows like top wrist lock, arm wringer, boom, kip up, roll through, but like that's not that there's anything I don't want to say wrong with that flavor, because there's certain foods that I'm not a big fan of, but other people love. It's not my flavor. My flavor is the very realistic. Oh man, is this real? Like, oh man, he just clocked, or like where you watch it and it seems like a legitimate sports competition, which is what I like. I'm a big sports guy. I worked in sports before I began as a professional athlete. I worked on the sports medicine team in professional sports. I was on the sports medicine team for Chivas USA of Major League Soccer during their last season before going after my own dreams and fighting. So I've been involved in sports in a really long time, and I like that sports vibe. Like, I like win-to-loss records. I really like the Ring of Honor Pure, where like, man, this kind of looks like a fight. It's technical stuff, and not that I'm going to bash people that do things differently, but I think when it looks too cooperative, I think it takes away from my personal ability to suspend my belief that these two guys are trying to beat each other up.
We
like, why are you holding his hand to hold you up in the air so he can walk over here and club you in the head? Like,
it's too much assistance, okay? And the part of it, and I'm not going to bash it, but like we could think of the suspense of disbelief with the Undertaker, going on top of the rope and walking, while holding the other guy's arm. Like he's legit a big guy holding him and, with a wrist lock like that. What we can't understand, and we've talked about this, I tell people with a certain type of match that comes up, I go, these two guys from Rancho Cucamonga are not for me. And it's not. That's why, like, if you go to the circus, there's certain things I'm not interested in, and there's things that I am interested in. It's not for everybody, okay? And the problem now is that people are condensing a television show in a way where you are making it, okay, from this spot we're doing this, from this spot we're doing this, and that's fine. But when you are totally, kind of badgering your fans from this spot to this spot, where it's like these are two opposites, they should not interact, and sometimes they do interact, it's ridiculous. That's why the cooperation thing is what really bothers me. You want the suspense of disbelief. And not only that, wouldn't you want a champion of a sport where people are physically beating the crap out of each other to be a bigger, stronger, faster, better person? We've talked about this, and that's why a lot of times when Andy and I go over these shows, they go, man, how would this person translate today? And we say, no, they wouldn't. You know why? Because a fan right now doesn't have the attention span to realize that.
So you want to know, I have a theory on why professional wrestling has taken the turn that it has into being all the flashy, flippy stuff. And I don't think it's just, I think part of it is because they're smaller people. I'm 6'4", 245. Could I do some of that? Yeah, but I'm not the type to do that. You got a guy who's 5'4", 170 pounds. That dude can do these flips and this and that, but you're not getting an old school Macho Man's not doing a moonsault off the big ass, number one, big ass dudes. But that's less of what my theory is. The bigger part of my theory is everybody who's in a wrestling ring today probably played video games as a kid growing up, wrestling video games. And when you create a player, you aren't like, ooh, top wrist lock to the hip toss. You're like jumping Rana to the spinning double power. Like, that's just what we do when we create our shit. It's like, it's all the cool shit, and it's not fundamentals. And in my opinion, as an athlete coming over, like, fundamentals win championships. Like, I'll see cool moves sometimes on YouTube, jiu-jitsu, where it's like all this, and you're like, yeah, that was cool, but like, get way further if you just drilled your far side arm bar. Like, how often is that move to help? Like, we're fundamentals, and I think because of video games, guys want to do the wild shit they grew up pretending that they were doing in a video game. Like, or like, that's my theory, is that guys now they're doing creative player mode for themselves, and who's going to be like top wrist lock, hip toss, arm guard. And you can tell so much of headlock. You don't even need a Rolodex move, bro. latch that headlock on and fucking work that motherfucker for a minute in there.
It's the same in MMA though. It's the same as wrestling, isn't it? MMA is the same as wrestling in the sense of like no one's going to turn around and say, "Oh, that was a top-notch Kimura," when somewhere else on the course someone's hit them with a spinning back kick or a flying arm triangle or something. A flying triangle or something like that. It's always going to be them big moves that get the kind of views and whatnot, isn't it?
100%, and I think that's a big reason why, like, and you're gonna get that. I almost think the holy shit chant a little bit, like it's but sometimes I think a holy shit chant, you're like, yeah, like that, god damn. And then sometimes I think it's just to encourage people to make poor choices.
Yeah.
You know, like when Cornette says, like, backyard mud show, like, bro, sometimes that shit's backyard mud show-ish, you know? Like, you guys see when the guy jumped off the turnbuckle and both his knees buckled backwards?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the reverse scorpion. It really is.
Fuck.
Yes.
Holy shit. Fuck.
I think, you know, it's funny that you say that chant because that chant wouldn't come out every single week 20 years ago. That was something that was really, you know, it's a soccer style thing now, these chants. Yeah, these chants now, it's very soccer style. You know, you see take a look at the guy in the front row of the crowd. The same guy is chanting, ooh, ah, the whole time. Or they're cheering, like, let's say, two random wrestlers. Okay, here's a good one. Kofi Kingston and Big E. Let's say they were fighting, which should have happened, but that's another story. Let's say they were still fighting, okay? All right, you'll say, boo, let's go Kofi, let's go Big E. The same crowd members chanting for both. People just want to scream. People just want to yell, you know? It's just so funny. It's just...
Would you think a lot of that's to do with nowadays, Blake? This would be a good thing to get your thing on, Troop, is, do you know, like, with the fans now, do you feel like that's because of the fans with the way that they chant stuff, or do you think it's because the wrestlers don't really interact as much with the fans anymore and kind of make them chant stuff? You know, like if you go back to the old days with Hacksaw Jim Duggan, you know, even Stone Cold Steve Austin with the watch chant and stuff like that, where now there's not really anyone that gets that full interaction in and out with the crowd. What's your thoughts on that, Sue?
You know, I will say that when you call a lot of things in the back and you have your set story, it's harder to work with the crowd because this is the pace we're going. Like, we're going from A to B to C to D. And if they wanted A, B, stay at B a little longer, maybe a little taste of E, come back. Like, if we got A, B, C, like, there's not an ability to adjust that. And coming out and kind of having an A, I think we should go like A, B, C, but let's see if we're in here and like, man, maybe we need to jump to B a little faster. Maybe we need to tease C a little bit before we go to C. Like, I think to have the best type of match, you need a combination of the two to maximize the big moments in the match. But you gotta listen to the fucking crowd, and not that you have to give them what they want every time they want it, but like in my opinion, you have to be conscious of that. My coach is a Rip Rogers student, trained at OVW for a long time, so I'm big on being able to call things on the fly, paying attention to what's going on, like, and it might be as simple as they're fighting back up, drag them back down, like, no, one more time, fight up a little more, and like, we're going to get these motherfuckers. They're going to come almost up, bam, back down one more time. Like, all right, this motherfucking time, they're coming. We're going to stay down here until they start going. And when they do, we're going to start punching. And then now we might have just planned to do it once. We got this. And now we're going back down. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, back down. All right, come on, motherfuckers. Come on. And now this time, they're ready for us. But it wasn't just like, all right, we're going to go down and we're going to fight back up, like, because we're just fighting. There's not a let's buff. Well, there's a moment right here, bro. We need to take advantage of this real quick because it's A, B, C, and when you've written a story in the back, you almost have to read it like that in the back, and then because if something happens different, now guys are going to be confused. She's like, wait, I thought we were at F. We're going back to E for a second, and then now And like it hasn't happened to me yet, but I've heard stories of this. And then everything after that's like mush. They forgot everything. And then like, great, we got another 6 minutes out here. Yeah. Now what are we gonna do? Can you work on the fly?
Yeah. No, I actually find that insightful because of the fact that a lot of people are so regimented and they need this spelt out. And I'm all for practice. I'm sure you are as well. But that's stuff where it's like you need to be natural too in the ring. You know, and that's people say, oh, wrestling's evolved. Well, that's certain things can evolve. Everything does. It's fucking science, okay, in life. But you also have to look at it this way. If it worked back then, like what you just said, you don't have that anymore. I'm thinking about guys like Yokozuna having that stupid pinch on, right? Okay. But you felt it, okay? Now Brett would sit there, he'd try to work up, and what would happen? Get settled back down. Now, obviously, it was a long rest hold for a guy who was 500 pounds. He kind of needed that a little bit, or otherwise he'd get blown up. But still, like you said, that is just something that you're working the crowd and you're working with your partner at that point. And I don't think there's enough of that anymore, man. I really don't.
I agree 100%. And a big term that you use there that I like is working. You're working the crowd. 100%. We're not just going out there and doing a choreographed performance or something like I said, not that I think that you should talk about big moments in the match, what those specific moments are. Like, I'm not going to necessarily get into details about, but I think to maximize certain things, particularly a finish, what's going to fucking happen before we've gone out in the back? But fuck, you can even do that while you're figured out in the fucking rest hold, where it's like, hey man, I need you to go out there and wrestle so-and-so. He's already in the ring. Like, all right, cool. Bam, we can get out and work. Boom, now we're working down the headlock. All right, motherfucker, so what are we doing? You know?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Not enough people can do things like that. And I think it's because they try and plan so much. But I think that comes down to not being comfortable with fundamentals. Because if you get fucked up out there, slap a headlock on that motherfucker and just take him over. If you're lost, if he's lost, if somebody's getting a little stiff or whatever, slap a headlock on and take a motherfucker over. How many motherfuckers practice their headlock takeover, though? Not enough. Not enough.
Fundamentals. This is what we talk about.
Fundamentals win championships. I mean, I'm an athlete, which is why I feel that way. Like, you know, in the headlock takeover isn't as flashy as a Ronda, but I can tell almost a bigger, better story with a headlock take. Maybe they don't get me the first 3 or 4 times. And then finally they run up the ropes. Bam! Big bump. They've been trying to take me over for 5-6 minutes. Finally, they get me. One bump, the crowd's gonna go fucking bananas. One bump, because I didn't give it to them for 5 fucking minutes. Headlock takeover, nope. Throw that motherfucker. Headlock takeover, smash. Nah, motherfucker. Headlock pour, smash. Take me over, nope. Almost take me over, nope. Smash. And finally, when he runs up the ropes, boom. Crowd goes fucking bananas. We didn't have to run it. We didn't have to go through a table. We didn't have to moonsault. We did. How risky was that? Fucking a headlock takeover.
Yep.
So how about, you know, just when you're saying stuff like that's great, or obviously it's, you know, you kind of building up to that from ultimate ending on you, you know, you're giving the crowd a little bit, you're warming them up. You know, back if you look at some of the old matches where you see, you know, look at Hulk Andre is probably a good one where he's trying to pick him up, he goes down with his back, you know, finally he gets there and he gets him over. Now, how hard was it for you to transition into wrestling from being, you know, because obviously when you're training MMA, obviously I trained MMA myself, I competed MMA, you know, you're looking to end the fight as quickly as possible, you know, if you potentially can do. Obviously my game was very top pressure, trying to get into mount positions or whatever, quick takedowns, things like that. How hard was it to transition into a wrestling match where you're kind of trying to build up, rather than just going out there and going for it?
You know, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's that much different. I have had a 14-minute match. I've had one 14-minute match and then 2 matches that were probably less than a minute, and then a match that were tag match that I was in for probably less than a minute. So I'm always, just like my MMA fights, I get inside of the professional wrestling ring and I am looking for a finish as quickly as possible. I don't get paid by the minute, I get paid by the beatdown. So I'm getting inside the ring and trying to put people away as quickly and as violently as possible. I'm not trying to build moments up or so forth. Just like in my 14-minute match with Jordan Clearwater, I went in there and I was looking for the finish. I missed the spike elbow in the corner, hit my head on the turnpost, and I got my ass beat for a little while. But I'm always looking for the finish. I'm no offense to the fans, but I'm not there to have a 15-minute war with somebody. I'm there to beat somebody's ass in highlight reel fashion very quickly and very violently.
Okay, cool. I get what you're trying to say there. So how easy was it to transition some of your moves that you had within the mixed martial arts, that you transition them into wrestling? And did you have to pull back on things, or? Oh, I think we might have lost Blake for a minute there, Dale.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Yeah, we definitely did for a little bit. But you know what? I understand what he's saying, because look at Brock Lesnar now. Brock Lesnar's actually been this marketable guy that, you know, comes in, beats somebody's ass, and some fans don't like it, but other fans, it's to the point where, okay, this is who he is, this is what we pay for, and, you know, he's been doing this forever. You know, It's a transactional thing. So, but yeah, I think I agree 110% with them.
Yeah, no, I do. So do you think that WWE missed the trick with what's his name, Bobby Lashley versus Brock, where they didn't go down that route of kind of, you know? Hey, Troop, you back? Oh, you still there, Dale?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, I'm still here.
We're good. So, yeah, do you know, like, when they done Bobby versus Brock, do you not think, like, both of them have had legitimate mixed martial arts fights? Do you not think, like, during that match at some point we could have had the shoot-in, takedown, and a bit of chain wrestling and whatnot? What's your thoughts on that, Dale?
Well, I think he's talking, so he's got to get his mic on. Yeah, he's got to get his mic on, so there we go. Not yet. I actually think that Lashley match with Lesnar went the perfect amount of time, because they are telling a story as far as the Lashley and Lesnar ordeal going. So, but and also with Reigns and Heyman too, I think that was something that's had to be told. But if you take that element out of it, I think it could have been timed a little bit to the point where it was a struggle. You know, and that's what exactly we got. We got a struggle between both those guys. You know, because you got to realize Lashley's huge. You know, so he can't. Lesnar can't throw around a guy like that that easily. So
yeah. No, I get that, but at the same time, you know, the both of them with the same weight category and whatnot, they could have done that a bit more, you know, because they went through the weigh-ins and everything else that they done on that, and they could have really done the same thing, could they not? Yeah,
but you also could have had something like, it's not like Tugboat versus Earthquake, right? You know, where it's just like these guys cannot spend more than 3 minutes in the ring against each other.
Yeah. I get you. Sorry, guys, we are having a bit of technical difficulties. It's no problem. We'll get straight back in with it soon. We're getting some really good insight here as well, which is great.
Yeah, but we're just trying to figure out, you know, exactly what went. Not going to say that wrestling went wrong anywhere, but it definitely made a left turn somewhere.
Yeah. And the thing is also, as I say, when you've got people like Troop who have still got that, there's a place for that in wrestling. There's a big place in that for wrestling. And, you know, someone like, if I'm Tony Khan, I'm looking at this guy and I'm looking at guys like this and I'm going, okay, you know, what do I do here? What, you know, I've got me other kind of side of things, you know what I mean? And me high flyers. And, you know, and that's the thing is, it's not saying that these high flyers and all the Circuit du Soleil, as Jim Cornette calls it, doesn't have a place in wrestling. Of course it does. But you've got to have, you know, some realism as well, especially at the top of the card, in my opinion. You've got to have some of that realistic stuff. And that's where, you know, the likes of Troop comes into it, and people like that who will come in and bring a legitimacy to it. And if I was Tony Khan, I'd be looking at that and thinking, what have I got in AEW that's like that? Well, I've got Brian Danielson. You know, what about bringing in someone like Troop who come in and do a job, a really solid job?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you have a guy that understands how to tell a story on the fly. You know, he literally just said you got to eat up the crowd, and it doesn't take anything for 6 moonsaults to come by and have a crowd sit there and get them back into it. When you're telling a story, it's easier for you to do. Yeah. But you have to read the crowd, you have to read the room, and I think the other most important thing about it. The other most important thing that we have about it is when you're actually doing, you're working with somebody that you know how to work with. So, Troop, you're back.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Perfect.
Awesome. I just turned the phone off. I'm not very, like I said earlier, I'm not very good with technology, and sometimes I'm just like, I'm going to just restart this motherfucker and see if that
It's the
worked.
bombs. It's the bombs. That's what we're trying to do. That's all we're caring about. So we were just going off about, basically how good it is to hear people wanting to tell a story in the ring, but do crowd interaction. That's the main thing, and we appreciate that. So I wanted to ask you, who are you now, and who do you want to be in the ring? So 2-part.
So who am I now? I would say that I am a new type of threat on the professional wrestling scene that is very heavily mixed martial arts dominant in terms of my style. I have probably, this is not a dig at anybody in the business, but some of the best match skills, I think, in professional wrestling. I'm working on developing them a little more for professional wrestling. But some of the transitions that I come up with and work with, where I've been able to really implement a lot of shoot techniques in a working manner that are safe for my opponents. And that goes for both submission grappling things, where I've had 4 matches now. I've probably been in the ring for almost 20 minutes, and I haven't done a single tie-up because I understand fundamental wrestling. I'll shoot a double leg. I'll shoot a single leg. I'll shoot a high crotch. I'll come in and I'll set up the collar tie. Like I won't just walk in. I'll save that for a time when it matters. When I've gone to war with somebody and we've been going back and forth for 15 minutes and now we're like, yeah, motherfucker. Yeah. Bam. Because that's what I would do in real fighting. Like anybody who's actually been in a fight with an opponent that they respect, you're not going to just walk out and walk in to get punched in the face range or get a double leg takedown range. You come out and you feeling a dude out if you respect him. Like most of the people that I think that do professional wrestling, not a dig on anybody, haven't been in these type of altercations, particularly in a professional setting like a cage where it's like, are you ready? Are you ready? All right, motherfuckers, it's time to go. Which is essentially what happens at the beginning of a wrestling match, which is supposed to simulate the beginning of a combat sports thing. Most people have never been in that combat sports side, so they think I'm just gonna come out and clash. Where it's like, man, if you just walk right up to me in mixed martial art, I come out swinging.
Yeah.
If you're gonna walk out and like just try and reach at me, I'm fucking swinging. Like if you look at my Instagram, there's a picture I posted in the last 4 or 5 days is me coming out throwing this huge right hand, and we're like a second. It's like ding, walk over, fucking killer right hand. Like, so I treat my wrestling the same way. Of I wouldn't just walk out, walk right up where you could punch me in the face or kick me
suspense.
or shoot it down. I'm gonna feel my way in. So like I won't even use a. Not that I won't use a tie-up, but I'll make a tie-up mean something instead of, it's not the only way I need to collide with somebody. I can shoot in and work my way up to where we're in a standing clinch and grind around the ring. Like, I haven't exhausted my ability to, quote unquote, tie up with a tie-up. I can shoot a shot and work my way into a standing clinch, and we can pummel them and fight and fuck around and make it seem like a legitimate struggle in there.
Exactly. And that's why we talked about before, the suspense of disbelief is totally thrown out because of that. Because it's just like, well, you're in a fight.
Just to ask you one question, Swoop. I know, I don't know whether you've seen the match. Did you see Bobby Lashley versus Lesnar the other week?
I did not. I'm actually interested to watch and see how they played that out, because those are 2 guys that have legitimate backgrounds that are monster. I mean, like, it doesn't really get more freak of nature monster than those 2 guys. Like,
And
Especially the way
something
Bobby
that
Lashley looks.
Yeah, I've just said that to Dale. I didn't think like, I mean, you know, the build up to it, I thought they got right because they'd done a weigh-ins and stuff like that, which, you know, was great. And they give like a tail of the tape, which was really good. But the actual stuff within the ring, for me personally, I don't feel like they went down. You know, there was no shooting for double legs or any kind of chain that, you know, there was none of that stuff. And I felt like they missed the trick by not doing that.
I agree with you 100% that if they had two guys with an MMA pedigree getting in there, especially with the presentation of a weigh-in and a tail of the tape, because the way that you're serving this dish up is, I'm about to give you guys an MMA fight, and then to give you just the same. I haven't watched the match, but to just give me a regular professional wrestling match after like hyping this shit up as like weigh-ins, tail of the tape, like. You're telling me this is going to be something different than the rest of the show just by introducing it in a certain way. And then to give me something that's not like that, I would be pissed. I'm going to watch it, though. I'm interested to see it.
You know, and it's funny you brought that up. You remember, obviously, the Brawl for All was, 25 years ago? So, okay, yeah. So we'll laugh about it. There's a reason why Severin's like, I ain't fucking doing this. Like, he did the one round, and he's like, I can't do this. He's like, here's how you can manipulate the system. And even Shamrock, apparently Shamrock was really training in it, and then people were like, nah, dude, you will kill people, A. And B, let's say you get hurt, your contract null void. And could you imagine a guy from the UFC that was those caliber people actually, like, going back to the UFC afterwards after losing? That was a mixed breed, man. That whole thing. What did you think? Obviously, how many years later? What did you think of that?
I think that's the early years of mixed martial arts fighting. You know, like we're given that wasn't necessarily like intended to be full on sports competition fighting. Like, I mean, it's like guys who didn't really fight in there. You know, like, but that's what early fighting was. It was like mismatches, like. Hey, let's put this 350-pound monster against this 170-pound little guy and see what the fuck happens. Like, that's what early mixed martial arts was. And I'm not mad at it. It was fun, but like...
Do you know what, Troop? Right, years later, I used to train out of a gym called Lashley in Liverpool, England. And one of my training partners who ended up actually going into the UFC, Rob the Bear Broughton, he fought Butterbean. And I remember he signed the contract and he fought him on Cage Rage. And I remember in the lead up to it, I was kind of nervous for him because I remember Butterbean, you know, when I was a kid in the Brawl for All and whatnot. And I was thinking, Rob finished him in like, I think it was 30 seconds. He dived, got a heel pick, took him down, and then got him into an arm triangle and finished him like that. And it just always made me laugh because I was thinking, like, I was just in my head, I was envisioning Rob getting these big alehouse digs hit at him and stuff like that, and Rob, like, Butterbean was this big, massive unit, you know, and obviously he didn't train in grappling very much, Butterbean, and he got took down very easily.
Butterbean was a scary dude, bro, and if you watch his highlight reel, that big motherfucker didn't look like he was... I mean, he kind of looked like he could have been a scary dude, but what that dude did to guys inside the ring, he would starch people. Yeah. Like... Bro, Butterbean's a scare. Like that's like being told you're fighting Kimbo. That was like an early version of like
Kimbo. Yeah. I think Butterbean was great in the boxing ring, wasn't he? But it didn't translate very well into the cage when he started going over that side.
That's a good comparison.
So he was in Japan though, and that's like the early MMA where it's like Butterbean's kind of a freak of nature. What does that dude like? Maybe like 5'10", 400 pounds. Looks like could be like some type of experimental project, but like, and then let's go put this dude against like 150-pound Japanese guy and see what the fuck happens. And dude, first time with a Japanese guy leg lock, and you're like, holy shit! Like, but that was early fighting. That's kind of like with the Brawl for All, where it's like you put two dudes in there that like maybe didn't necessarily, maybe both these guys didn't have business being in there together. I can't say like in Brawl for All, both guys didn't belong in there, but there's a few times where you're like, oh, this guy's about to get really hurt. Or a guy like did get smashed.
Did you, so I wanted to ask, and I was just thinking of stuff to ask you because you have a different type of style. And I think I know what the answer is, but just from my own thought, what ECW original would you compare yourself to?
Um,
I'm not sure if look. I'm from New York, and I'll tell you what I think after you say it. But I saw a lot of that at night, like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning when I was a kid. It was on a lot, so I was exposed to a lot of it, and that's one of the things I always thought of. But
I would say RVD. If I had to pick a guy, RVD, I would say is one of the big influences on me. RVD's actually a friend of mine as well. But one of the big influences on me and doing a lot, like, I don't know, I haven't done any of this in the ring yet, but I got some cool ninja kicks that I've been working on, like jumping, spinning back kicks, where I got some cool shit that I would say is somewhat RVD inspired.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I saw that.
Who
I
were
was
you
actually,
thinking?
I was thinking Taz, and I'll tell you why. Okay. Just the way he was moving in the ring, I would see that, and just being able to lock up, because I saw a lot of that, you know. We just actually interviewed Sabu, what was that, a couple months ago, right?
Yeah, but last month it was.
Oh, yeah. So, and he's just, his love for RVD, you know, like you could just tell that's his boy, and they are close. It was just really cool to watch, you know, talk to him about it too. And did you know that Sabu's a Juggalo champion wrestler?
I knew that they had the Juggalo wrestling at the gathering every year, because I've had some friends who have wrestled at it. I didn't know he was the champion, but I'm a huge Taz fan as well. I'm a big fan of what they're presenting with Hook. I wish that the kid was a little more jacked. Nothing against the kid at this point, though he's young.
Agrees.
But like,
agrees.
I like that they're bringing out like kind of shooter style. One thing I will say about Hook is, have you guys heard of like Pokemon? You know how Pokemon evolve and shit?
Yeah.
I'm what Hook's going to eventually evolve into, like 3 evolutions down the line. He eventually evolves into Bulletproof Troop. Bang, bang.
Have you had any conversations with AEW or anything? Because it just seems like, watching your style and stuff, you'd be a really good fit for their kind of product, and something that they haven't got at the moment.
You know, I have been extremely selective about all of the bookings that I've taken. I'm currently 4-0. I made my debut with United Wrestling Network's Primetime Live pay-per-view series. Everything that I've done is either been on pay-per-view or on television. Like I said, I'm 4-0. I've gotten other offers that I've just turned down because I want to be able to have a little bit of a hand on the wheel for what happens early in my career, because I really think that how I come out the gate is a really big influence on where I'm going to go with things. So like, I'd rather be an exclusive brand that's only been on TV and stuff, instead of a guy who's wrestling. And I'm not bashing people that wrestle on the Veterans Hall, but I think that I can build my brand into something bigger and more exclusive and get more bang for my buck the times that I do get inside of the ring. I bring a different style of wrestling that I don't think anybody else can really bring. And even if people could do the moves that I do, it being me, a legitimate professional mixed martial arts fighter, with the presentation that I have and the energy that I have, where it's not just the moves that I do, it's the entire full-on package. And then on top of all of that, 6'4", 245 pounds, shredded, and I can talk into a microphone. Like, fuck, I'm almost the full package. So I'm being extremely patient with the things that I take. Good. I have some people interested in me, which I can't necessarily go into detail about a ton of things, but there is one that I can go into detail about. So about a week ago, actually it was on Saturday, a guy named Adam Scher, you guys may have heard of him before, formerly known as Braun Strowman, slid into my DMs and told me to come to the Control Your Narrative show on March 5th in Orlando to talk with them and see what the fuck's up.
That'd be great.
Which I'm a big fan of a lot of that. And this poster right here is actually a Control Your Narrative poster that I bought before, which EC3 signed and like wrote a personal message on there for me, which was dope. EC3 and I were actually on a show together. My last pay-per-view event, which was November 20th. EC3 was our big fly-in talent. And so EC3 seen me inside of the ring. I had a squash match before the show. They gave me the microphone, hyped up the crowd. We had a rumble, which I almost won. I got eliminated right at the very end.
Saw that. Yeah, saw that.
So the guy who won the rumble is the guy who I had in my debut match that I went 14 minutes with, Jordan Clearwater, who wrestles now with the NWA and is one of our former champions. But so at the end of all that, like EC3 is like, bro, you're like a walking fucking promo. Like, yeah, man, I fucking put in work. Like, and I realized that everything you do, I'm not going to say the things you do in the ring are not important, because if you go in the ring and shit the bed, you're going to look terrible. But I think the most important, or the most powerful way to connect with your audience is through a microphone. Yes, being able to get in and sell and work and so forth, but everybody loved The Rock because of what that mother, when he gave him a fucking microphone. Could he wrestle? Did people go crazy for the people's elbow? Absolutely. But if that motherfucker wasn't, if you smell, how crazy would people have really gone for the people's elbow?
Yeah.
Not saying it's not a cool move, it's dope, but it was the whole electrical performance behind that, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
I don't remember what the question was.
Well, no,
just talk.
No, it was just basically summation, you in a nutshell, as far as where your next steps are going. And it's funny that you mentioned it. I've been paying a lot more attention to NWA and watching their program because it's a good television program. If you watch, obviously it's on YouTube, so you know it's kind of mixed up, but it's a good episodic TV show that we want to watch, that I wanted to watch more. I mean, we remember seeing Trevor Murdoch, who just lost actually last night, but we remember watching Trevor Murdoch 15, 20 years ago with Lance Cade, who was, by the way, one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Lance Cade was one of the coolest guys I've ever met. But I will say, man, I could picture you in NWA, and I'll tell you why. Because it's no bullshit. I'm watching their program. It's not crap. And, you know, I'm not sure if you watch Fox News, but seeing Brodus Clay on there, or Tyrus now.
So interestingly enough, I've actually done a little bit of work in association with the NWA. I've done commentary for the TV title loss when Zicky Dice lost it to the Pope. I was on commentary. When Thunder Rosa lost the women's title to Serena Deeb, I commentated that match. I commentated the U.S. title when Aaron Stevens lost it to Trevor Murdoch, and I did the tag match when, who was it? Aaron Stevens and J.R. Kratos won against like the Wild Cards or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Thomas Latimer and somebody else. So I've actually called 4 NWA title changes already as well. I've been part of.
Awesome.
Where was Kratos from? Because I'm looking at him. I'm like, that's a beast, man.
He's from Northern California. He actually trains jiu-jitsu and stuff as well. So not all and bro, I'm 6'4", like 240, 245. That motherfucker's like probably 6 foot, 6'1", 300 and something, like. And he's not like a fat fuck 300.
No.
Like, bro, he's like if a fire hydrant had like a face and was like a human size, bro, that motherfucker. And like just as solid. Like you hit a fire hydrant, you hit like Kratos on the shoulder, like, dude, they're like made out of the same shit. That's a solid man right there.
Yeah, he's a big dude. But yeah, any whispers from them as far as potentially working with them though?
No, I'm kind of feeling things out in a variety of different places. I would absolutely be interested in working with the NWA. My coach is a guy named Chris Silvio, who you may have seen on the show working with a guy named Jack Stain.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very, very close with Aaron Stevens. So I would absolutely say that the NWA is a place that I would be interested in going. Not only that, but the history behind the NWA gives a lot of value in terms of me being a sports guy and like a guy who likes history and stuff, where I think that having been a part of that or potentially having held that title would mean something to me, or like my career, because like I'm a history guy and I'm big into real sports, and like the NWA 10 pounds of gold, it's kind of like one of those belts, you know, like there's not I would rather have, I don't know if I could say I'd rather have that than like WWE heavyweight or universal title, but like it's up there in this category of how many legitimate world titles are there in pro wrestling? Like there's a lot of world titles. How many are like a legit world title? Like I consider the NWA. NWA might not be what it was, but man, that's fucking when you've done.
It's
nostalgia, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Actually, we were talking about this, and we asked people too. what was your favorite belt to look at when you were in the 90s, 80s? What do you think was one of the most aesthetically pleasing belts? That 10 pounds of gold is really awesome, though.
It is. I was a fan of the WCW giant fucking gold belt.
Yeah, nice belt.
I like the WWF Intercontinental title too.
Which one? Which one?
The one when Stone Cold and The Rock were going back and forth for a little while, I believe it was.
Okay.
There's not a whole lot of belts that I don't like. Another belt that I really like is the Pancrase belt. That's a fucking
that's
belt.
a nice. I used to like the Pride belts as well. I thought the Pride belts were really nice.
You didn't think they were too cartoony, Andy?
The Pride ones? No, I thought the Pride one was really nice.
Yeah, okay. I gotta look into that again. I might be thinking of something else.
And because it was silver, I thought it popped out a bit as well.
Yeah.
Here's a little fun piece of inside information I'll give you guys. Pancrase is coming back.
Is it?
Pancrase, oh yeah. Pancrase
Really?
will be having his show at Madison Square Garden in April.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, so they are coming back, new owner, and they're trying to rebuild the sport of Pancrase. And
Are you gonna have a pop on it, or?
They're currently looking for their on-camera talent.
Oh.
Okay.
So that is the extent of the information I can say regarding that. That's all I can. That's all I know for now. And they're hosting tryouts and stuff.
So all right. So if you're going to the Garden, give me a call. I'm on Long Island, so
I'll keep you posted.
There you go.
If I'm able, like I said, I'm a sports guy. I'm like a historian. Like Madison Square Garden's one of those places. Like
I know.
Man, there's not a whole lot of other things that are like on that level of place to go compete or like perform or like Madison Square Garden's pretty fucking high on that list. Like I can't really think of a sports place higher on the list than a Madison Square Garden, particularly for combat sports, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree, especially since they were banned for how long.
Yeah.
And the commission wasn't doing it. The commission wasn't doing it for how long, right? So before we wrap things up, obviously, and we would love to talk with you again, especially when we get everything. Yeah, definitely. What are you going to tell everybody viewing this? Okay. Because we want to make sure that you get who you are out to us and to the viewers.
So what I would say for the viewers who only got a little bit of snippet of me, or this is your first introduction to me, is that I'm out here going after my goals, and I might be accomplishing big things that some people might consider to be unobtainable, but they're not. The way that I got to where I was at in my life is I figured out what I wanted. I set goals. I created a plan, and I passionately put my everything into that plan. Not everything's going to go right. You're going to make some adjustments along the way. And like I said, not everything's going to go right, but things are that much more worth it. And so going after your goals, you can create any type of life that you want. Anything's possible if you're willing to go out there and like I said, create a plan and passionately put your everything into it. It's not how bad you want it. It's how hard you're willing to work for it. But not just that. It's about working smart and efficiently in a way that you're going to be able to get to that. Because not all motion translates to progress. Yep. You can be in a pool splashing in one spot and you're not getting any fucking closer to the other end of the pool. Maybe spending a ton of energy versus a good stride to the other end. And if you don't ever set goals, you can never have progress because there's never a destination to get closer to. So figure out what the fuck you want out of life, create a plan, and go get that shit. I'm no different than anybody else, except I just went for it. So believe in yourself and you can accomplish anything. 100 years ago, if you said you wanted to go to the moon, you would have been laughed out of the fucking room. Now you want to go to the moon, that's not that crazy. You want to go to Mars? Not that crazy. You want to time travel? All right, now we're talking. But we got to the moon because motherfuckers are like, dude, whatever, you can laugh. We're getting there. And now we've been to the moon. Maybe time travel is a little bit of a stretch, but like, man, it takes some believing in dreams and then going after that shit. So anybody who has a dream, fucking go for it because life is going to be what you make it. And it's not going to necessarily be easier, but it'll be that much more worth it.
I love it, man. That's awesome.
If you want to come find my stuff, you can come over to bulletprooftroop.com. I'm about to make a fresh batch of merch, so stay tuned on that. Bulletprooftroop.com. Instagram at Bulletproof Troop, Facebook.com/Bulletproof Trooper, or Twitter at Big Troop 22. Come through, grab some swag. United we stand, divided they fall. Click, clap, bang, bang.
Like it. It hurt, man.
Awesome.
And that's why he's on a show that crosses the Atlantic Ocean, right, Andy?
It does. And what a guy. And Troop, we'd love to have you on again, mate. Really, really would.
Your insight was greatly appreciated too, man. And just for viewers at home, just take whatever he said, not just about what he, life in general, but also let's keep that. If you're going to take a minimal amount, take what his life attributes are and also what he said about wrestling, because it makes complete fucking sense, right?
Mm-hmm. That's the one. And that's what we're trying to do here. Obviously, we do work on WrestleBuddy.com, and we do there's some other outlets and stuff on our channel. We like to just keep it really niche and what we enjoy doing. And obviously, that's why we've got Troop on today. Obviously, I interviewed the wrestler the other day, which I'm not going to sing you, but it was like talking to a fucking broomstick. So it's brilliant to have you on, Troop, and thank you so much, mate.
Thanks a lot, Troop. Appreciate it. And in the beginning, guys, I said Bulletproof. It's Bulletproof Troop, folks. So be sure to look out for him.
You guys are ready for me. I'm locked, cocked, and ready to rock again, baby. Bang, bang.
All right. Thanks, guys, so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. And remember, just keep loving wrestling, folks.
Take care, guys.